Hello, hello, and welcome to it's not exactly the day that we were supposed to do this, but
I'm gonna apologize right now for that. That's my bad. I goofed bad, Nate. I'm sorry.
that's okay. It happens. It happens.
A little bit of a scheduling conflict, misconstrued plan. I just done goofed. Had some scheduling mishaps, but
It happens.
You know what?
It's finals week
you know what? Finals week, and we're still back. We're back on air, Nate.
for the last time,
The
huh?
last time our dynamic duo in college, at least. I mean, who knows? Future-wise, we may be. I don't know if the world wants us together after this, but we could make it happen.
Maybe.
But hey, we're back. This is the Second String, your favorite source for all sports news here on the campus of UNL at KRNU2. And Nate, we got a lot to talk about. We had the NFL draft.
We did have the NFL
We're
draft.
talking football again.
We are talking football again. I'm excited. Not the normal football, but NFL football.
Oh man, but hey, all football is good football, right?
Yes, in a way. Indeed. The NFL draft did happen this last weekend. All three rounds. First round is on Friday. Second and third are on Saturday. Rest of the rounds are on Sunday.
All seven, you mean? All 3 days,
Yeah.
7 rounds. But we got a lot of picks to go over. We're definitely going to kind of break down that whole first round. Obviously, that's the big one that everybody's always wondering. A record 5 QBs were taken, Nate. 5.
I think that ties the record.
Yeah, but it's been like 20-some, 30 years
80,
since that happened.
81, 85.
Okay.
It was one of those years. It was like
Yeah.
the Dan Marino draft.
Yeah,
was
so
the one that.
tying the record of, I mean, that's pretty impressive. Very heavy quarterback class in this draft, obviously. There were even some taken a little bit later in some rounds as well, including our very own Tanner Lee, Nate.
Do you want to just start with that? You want to get that out of the way?
Let's please get that out.
It's the
of
only
way.
good Nebraska news the entire weekend.
Yes, let's please. Well, we got that basketball guard.
Yeah, no, that was
That's-
good. I like that.
So, a little bit of extra Nebraska news, but no, Tanner Lee got drafted by the Jags in the 6th round, and that means Nebraska has a 50-year streak of consecutive draft picks, which is pretty impressive because we are one of only 6 schools to do that in the nation.
You know, it's very impressive, and a lot of people were like, "Nobody's getting drafted this year."
I was legitimately scared. Some people are even saying like the Jags were paid off just to help keep us alive on this draft streak.
That's just some Tanner Lee haters, I think, that are doing that.
No, I mean he's proven that he has a great skill set. He is a great.
It's a 6th round pick. You take flyers in the 6th and 7th round. These are people that you say, you know what? If they don't make the roster, it's not
okay.
the worst.
Yeah.
It's not the worst thing in the world.
They need a backup quarterback at some point. Might as well let him try out for it.
Yeah, and so he has the intangibles. You know, if they can get a professional QB coach in there and to teach him, you know, his decision making to kind of polish that up, I don't see why not. You know, I don't think he's ever going to be. He's not going to be Tom Brady out there. And, you know, if he does turn into Tom Brady, I'll be really happy as a Nebraska fan. But
we're going to jump back on that Tanner Lee train then.
Yeah, no, I would. You know, this is like the first Nebraska quarterback to be drafted as a quarterback in 30 years? 20
More
plus.
so than that, yeah.
It's the 80s. I'm trying to think of who it was. But he was really the first quarterback to be drafted as a Husker quarterback in a long time. We've had other people. You know, Scott Frost, Eric Crouch, Jamal Lord, all drafted as non-quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. But he's the first one to be drafted as an actual quarterback since... I'm trying to figure this out.
I'm trying to think in the 80s. Maybe
1992. Keithan McCant.
Keithan McCant. Wow. Okay.
That's a name.
That's a name that you do not know very well unless you're like looking way back in Husker history.
Yeah. I mean, we honestly don't have that many quarterbacks being drafted. You know, Turner Gill is the only other big one to be drafted as like a actual QB.
Yeah, so I mean, still a big accomplishment, not only for Tanner but for Nebraska as well. Again, keeping that streak, but definitely for Tanner. Hey, he's on a roster, or at least for now. He can do some damage, see what he has. Maybe he cut it down his interception turnover.
I mean, I think a lot of people, or scouts at least, can look at the film and be like, half of Tanner Lee's interceptions, a third of Tanner Lee's interceptions weren't exactly his fault.
Oh no! Like, have you seen Nebraska's offensive line?
I mean, a lot of them. A lot of them were.
They're not existent.
Not a lot of them, but some of them were bad O-line. Some of them were bad receiving.
Yeah, poor catches. So, I don't know. We'll again. Kudos to Tanner Lee. Hey, we got our draft streak going. Yeah, and we had a number of Huskers signed as undrafted free agents.
Yeah, we saw the usual suspects: DeMornay Pearsonell, Chris Jones, Josh Kalu. I think some of the linemen.
Luke McNitt even got a undrafted free agent signed, didn't he?
He did. But I think a lot of people, like Drew Brown didn't get signed, but he's going to camp.
Oh, he'll be picked up somewhere. He's too good of a kicker.
Hopefully,
He's got that NFL blood in him anyway. So
that'd be nice. That'd be real nice. The other big one, I think, was Nick Gates got signed by the Giants. Who's our other guys?
I feel bad for Eli Manning.
I don't think they're going to be looking at him as a potential starter, but
I hope not.
I've heard on social media that
to be fair, the Giants didn't have much of an offensive line either last year.
Yes,
for the last few years.
I've heard on social media that he was actually a player, Nick Gates, that was actually on draft boards for a while, but apparently, from what this is like secondhand source, but he apparently interviewed so terribly at the combine that he got dropped to undrafted.
Oh my gosh!
Well, of course, there's also the rumors that he wasn't, he didn't, declare. He was basically told by Scott Frost, "You're not going to be playing. If you don't come back, you're not going to be on the team. If you come back next year," as I've heard those rumors too.
Well. He's not at Nebraska anymore.
He's
moving
not.
On.
He's hopefully he can make it into camp. I won't wish a former Husker badly unless it's Richie Incognito. Then I can wish him badly.
I think everybody could. Anyone who's met him or seen him play football in any way, shape, or form, they're just like, okay, you could stop. we can deal without you.
Yes. Okay. But regardless of that tangent, I hope all of the Huskers do well in training camp. I hope they all get on rosters.
Definitely. And still, I mean, with a new era coming for Nebraska, I think we can look forward to some new draft picks.
We can. We got.
I mean, you going through we're rolling through the list of all the draft picks, and look at all the UCF players that have been drafted.
Yeah.
Obviously, the big one was Shaquem Griffin going to the Seahawks to play with his twin brother, first one-handed NFL player.
Yeah, good for him. Mike Hughes went first round.
Yeah, Mike Hughes. Yeah, I mean, Vikings took him in their defensive backfield in the first round.
A lot of their offensive players and their
wide receivers
pieces.
And tight ends were utilized quite well in the draft, or taken very well. Trayvon Smith, number 91 overall to the Saints. That's going to be a big one. And then just a few picks later, Jordan Akins. I already talked about him to you earlier, the tight end going to the Texans. I think that's a great pick.
Yeah, it is. And we'll certainly see a lot of that. And we will see some more players, offensively and defensively be selected in the next few rounds. I mean, Stanley Morgan Jr., he's getting drafted next year.
Oh,
I don't think there's any possibility
the man
he doesn't.
Stan is just a beast out there.
Yeah, I think
absolute. He's a monster. He's a monster out on the edge.
Hail Varsity put out a piece about him. That was really good.
Really, I'll have to go read that article.
Yeah, it was just a very, personal profile piece about him, and just really nice. Just detailed how, he committed and he's been through 2 coaching changes and regime changes in his career here, and he loves it. And how he was never in question that he was leaving for the draft, basically, because he loves Nebraska so much.
That's good.
But regardless, streak continues. Hopefully, it will continue ever into the future.
Yes, hopefully we get that multi-draft pick streak back. That was frustrating to lose that last year, and obviously it wasn't going to happen this year. But
yeah,
at least we got the main streak going. You know what? Want to just roll through the first round, Nate?
Yeah, sure.
Just kind of go through our thoughts on the picks. The big one, overall number 1, Mr. Baker Mayfield.
I love Baker Mayfield. Not as a person. I think he's kind of a dingus. But
a dingus.
There are other words you could describe him that are not fit for radio.
that is fair, but now as someone who has a lot of family supporting Oklahoma State, I don't think you say the statement, "I like Baker Mayfield," is an acceptable phrase. I might have to call your mom up after this.
She might not like it, but I think he's legitimately a phenomenal football player. I've seen him play in person, which is really weird. You know, you and me have both seen a Heisman Trophy winner play in person,
Yeah.
which is really strange, but he impressed me every time I've seen him play football, and it's just one of those gut picks. It's like Deshaun Watson last year, where you just see him and you're like, I think this guy,
he can ball out.
I think he's going to have it. And, it doesn't always work. Johnny Manziel, several years ago.
I knew that he was going to flail.
I felt like he was going to too, but, there was a lot of the same arguments about him. It's just like, oh, he's got it. He's a gamer. He's a baller.
Very true.
I'm repeating Skip Bayless when saying that because that's the only thing that comes into my mind when I hear Johnny Manziel.
Well, I know a lot of people also have compared Baker Mayfield to Johnny Manziel, and honestly, they've gone with the Johnny Manziel 2.0 version when referring to Baker Mayfield. And so I think I think that's a pretty accurate name for him, or a pretty accurate comparison.
He's much bigger than Johnny Manziel is.
Like size-wise, yes, but
I think the positive comparison to him is in fact Russell Wilson. We've talked about basketball too much recently.
We'll get to basketball at the end of the show, Nate, but Russell Wilson's another good comparison. But I think just, again, as the attitude and playmaking ability goes, I think Johnny Manziel's the best comparison. Baker Mayfield can make any kind of play you want him to, and some that you have no idea were even possible until they happen, much like Manziel. But also, I think Baker Mayfield's a little bit more mature and a little bit better about it with those off-the-field issues, but still has those off-the-field, not necessarily off-the-field issues, but away from football issues like planting the flag or the lewd gestures at Kansas and stuff like that. So just, again, that's a lot of that fiery compassion and passion and competitiveness, but it's definitely something he always needs to keep in check at times, especially going into the league.
That is very fair. I just got that feeling like I got with Deshaun Watson last year, and that turned out well. So I think I'm gonna run it back.
I knew Deshaun was gonna be a good quarterback. Everybody was being like, "Oh, it's Deshaun Watson." No, he's too much of a dual threat. Like, that's not gonna work in the NFL. Hey, Watson can ball out. If he hadn't torn his ACL, who knows what the Texans would have been doing in the playoffs.
Indeed, but I think he's going to be good, though. It's the Browns.
That's the only thing. Like, I was just going to say, Browns is where QBs go to die. Like,
you're not wrong.
If you want to see your QB succeed coming out of college, you're like, please don't draft him by the Browns. Just please don't pick him. The Browns went for him. Like, and that's the other thing too, is he moved up the board quite rapidly over the last couple months, because he was supposed to be a lot farther down. I mean, people were picking Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen. They were all thinking, oh, these guys are way more pro-style, just better fit for an NFL system quarterback. And they're like, nah, Baker Mayfield's got it.
Yeah, no, I think so too. We'll see. Like you said, it's the Browns. They'll be good when I'll trust them when I see them be good, which has kind of been never in my lifetime.
Never. Moving on to the second pick overall.
Much more of a sure thing, apparently.
Mr. Saquon Barkley.
Just genuinely what was thought to be the unanimous number one talent in the draft. I've not seen a running back be that since Adrian Peterson. Yeah,
draft-wise, it's been a while. And
since you've seen just a running back just be consensus.
I
mean, you think about Ezekiel Elliott a few years ago, but he wasn't. He was only like top 5, top 10.
Ezekiel Elliott's a great talent, and he's showcased that quite well in the NFL.
Exactly. But I'm more talking about this pre-draft when everybody in the media is like, "Yep, this guy, this running back, he's the best thing in the draft. He's the most sure thing. He's the best, most explosive playmaker." Adrian Peterson, I think, was the last guy.
That's fair.
To be in that mold.
That's fair. I think it's a great pick by the Giants. They clearly have not had a run game in years.
Not since, Brandon Jacobs. That's like early 2010s.
Yeah, and so I mean, they clearly needed to rebuild that backfield. I think rebuilding their offensive line is also going to be a key.
I mean, they had one of the worst offensive lines in the league last year, obviously.
Yeah. So that's obviously you're going to need to have that if you're going to have a successful running game. But one thing I do always say with Saquon Barkley, and I said this all last fall with college football going on, is he's a guy that, yes, you obviously need an offensive line, but you don't always need a good offensive line because he will make some of those plays and make some of those guys miss when you needed to. A little bit different moving up to the next level, but still, I mean, this dude's a playmaker no matter what.
Yeah, indeed. He can catch, he can run, and that's kind of a trite description.
He can kick return.
He can.
I remember we were watching that opening kick for Ohio State, Penn State, that big game, and just opening kickoff just takes it to the house. And I just looked at you, I'm like, all right, Nate, this is
exactly,
a game.
Exactly. And for the Giants, they haven't had a running threat in years, and he's just a talented guy. You never know with players. It's kind of a crapshoot, but he seems like as close of a sure thing as you can get.
Now, third pick overall, Nate. This is someone who you were very high on all of last fall and last summer, last spring stuff. Whenever we were discussing football, especially from when he came into college football, like a couple falls ago. Sam Darnold played pretty strong as a freshman to close out the second half of USC season 2 years ago. Last season was a starter. And I told you all season he was not impressive to me. He's a good quarterback. He still has a long way to go before he's a great quarterback. And I was telling you, like during this whole draft process, that I think again he's going to get that high pick. He got number 3 overall to the Jets, but he's not going to be a good pick in the long run for the Jets. I don't think he's a good quarterback.
That's a fair argument. I mean, honestly, I think there are arguments for every single one of the quarterbacks in this class. And drafting QBs, more than any other position, it's a complete crapshoot. I think some people crunch the math and they said it's basically 50-50 in the first round whether your quarterback is good or not.
I mean, that could be true. But with this one, he led the entire nation in turnovers. He had more turnovers than some entire teams did, Nate, in this last fall. Just he himself.
He did, but he has all of the intangibles, all of the physical elements that you look for in a prototypical
Which is why I think he should have
quarterback.
stayed another year if he wanted to really be a top-level quarterback in the NFL. Again, he got the draft pick of a top-level quarterback. I don't think he has the right development level and skill level to be at that top-level quarterback.
I kind of disagree, honestly. I still believe in Sam Darnold. I don't think he's a terrible quarterback, and the only thing that bothers me is, I'm doing the whole Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith first take. Like, I just feel it, man. But, I don't get that feeling with Sam Darnold. But the Jets, they needed the quarterback. They had to draft one this year.
They did have to draft
They haven't
one.
had a franchise QB in ages.
So what now? In your opinion, apart from the fans making the Sam Darnold jersey last year, why do you think they picked Sam Darnold over Josh Allen or the guy who was taken number 10 and had 9 mistakes ahead of him, Mr. Josh Rosen?
Because he is the most complete quarterback with the most fixable elements of his game, in my opinion.
So Mayfield's already off the board, and let's look at just the 4 other QBs taken in the first round.
Yes.
You have Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, and Lamar Jackson. We're going to have a big discussion on Lamar Jackson because I know you don't think he's going to be a quarterback.
I don't think
I know he's going to be a quarterback, and I'm going to prove you wrong.
Okay.
He's going to prove me wrong. He's going to prove you wrong for me.
Okay.
I got my words mixed up, but he's going to prove you wrong for me later on in the NFL. But out of those 4, you think Sam Darnold is the best pick? If you're building a team, you would pick Sam Darnold out of those 4 as your 3rd round pick or 3rd overall pick?
Yeah, I would. Lamar Jackson, he's not an NFL QB. He's too thin. He doesn't throw the ball. He doesn't have good enough decision making.
We'll get to that later.
Josh Rosen has injury question marks. His back, his legs, I think, have been injured, and I don't particularly think he's any better than Sam Darnold is, and Sam Darnold does not have those injury concerns.
Look at the numbers when Sam Darnold played Josh Rosen. Let me look those up for you.
Okay, sure.
Go over Josh Allen, and I'll.
And then Josh Allen, man, he His completion percentage was under 50%. There's no quarterbacks in the NFL that have succeeded.
Okay, look at the weapons that he had, though.
Josh Allen?
Yes.
It doesn't matter. You get the ball to your receivers.
Yes.
He's not good in short to intermediate throws.
Okay, last season, though, I mean, he had much better receiving core, much better talent on his side of the ball, and his numbers were quite solid.
They were okay. Sam Darnold, he has the easy...
He can throw the ball 80 yards. Did you see those videos?
So could Jamarcus Russell.
Fair.
But the fact is, in my opinion, that Darnold has the easiest, I think, flaws in his game to fix. He needs to work on his footwork, which is a more fixable thing. Look at Tanner Lee. He can throw the ball, but it's his decision-making. Yeah. And I think Darnold has the right decision-making abilities.
When he leads the nation in turnovers, he has the right decision-making?
I do. I think he...
Okay, Nate, I'm just saying, that, to me, that's a pretty telling stat. When you lead the entire nation as a player in turnovers.
I think it's a fixable stat. I really do.
So was Tanner Lee's just as fixable?
Tanner Lee doesn't have the skills that Sam Darnold has.
Okay. We're gonna move forward. What are some other big picks in the first round you really liked? Just jumping real quick though. Sorry to cut you off, but those other three quarterbacks: Josh Allen, number 7 to the Bills. Josh Rosen, as mentioned, number 10. He said he had 9 mistakes ahead of him.
Corrected it to 3.
Corrected it to 3 later on, but regardless, he still feels a little bit gypped. And then number 32 overall in the first round was Lamar Jackson, who, again, I think is going to be a very phenomenal quarterback.
That is very, very fair. I am thinking I'm going to go with Derwin James.
Oh, man. You just want to talk about your Chargers.
I do not. I genuinely think it's a great pickup. Dude was projected top 10, and he fell to 17. He was projected 7. He was projected the 7th talent in the draft, and he fell to 17.
That may have been due just because of Florida State's season, which is hard. Most NFL teams and most scouts, they know not to look into those things, but sometimes they can play a factor. You're like, oh, this guy played on this defense the whole year. Why? If he's this good of a talent, why is it not showing up in all of his numbers? I don't know. That's always my opinion, is that people look into those just a little bit too much sometimes. I was surprised he fell as far as he did. I'm sure you're quite happy about it.
I am.
Because we have him going to the Chargers now at 17. Who
they have a dang good secondary now.
Yeah, that is a very, very dangerous defense with great pass rush too. They already had Bosa, and then who was the other guy in the end?
Hayward.
Hayward, yeah. So you had Bosa and Hayward on the ends. They picked up a defensive tackle in this draft as well, right?
Yes, they did. They did. We picked the other thing we picked up is Omowosu.
You're part of the coaching staff now?
Yeah, and it's fine. You can do that.
That's all right. I'm a wee guy too.
Yeah, it's you get into it. They picked up Nwosu from USC, who's a middle linebacker in the 2nd round.
Okay.
He fills their big hole on defense, which is the fact that they don't really have a Mike linebacker who can.
Manti Te'o didn't work out for you?
He's kind of slow.
Slightly. But no, I think you're right, though. I think that was a huge, huge pickup. I was surprised, again, how far Derwin James fell, especially with Tremaine Edmonds from Virginia Tech being even picked ahead of him. And Tremaine Edmonds, very
good player,
very, very solid linebacker. And Minkah Fitzpatrick, he was the other DB chosen. And Fitzpatrick and then Denzel Ward taken up 4th overall by the Browns. Those are the two guys who are honestly the most comparable in the secondary to Derwin James.
And I think they are better players, and that's why they got picked above of him.
Yeah,
but someone
can make the argument on both sides. But I think I don't know. I don't know what I was trying to say there. all three of them are very great secondary players. So I'm not surprised the order that they really went in. They're pretty close, but I was surprised they weren't a little bit closer together.
Exactly. Like, I was surprised that Derwin James did not go in the top 10, but I suppose when you have 4 quarterbacks drafted in the top 10.
I mean, yeah, it's almost half your top 10 right there.
Yeah, and it's a lot of needs, and you look at some of the teams, ahead of them that drafted defensive tackles or linebackers or offensive linemen.
Ends, yeah.
You look at people like Quentin Nelson and Mike McGlinchey from Notre Dame, both offensive linemen for teams for San Francisco and Indianapolis, 2 teams that needed offensive linemen. Yep. You look at Daron Payne, Vita Vea, who went to Tampa Bay and Washington.
Davenport and Bradley Chubb, both on the defensive ends for the Broncos and the Saints.
Yeah, these are just...
Bradley Chubb is a huge pick. I think that's a very scary defense again. I mean, the Broncos have always had a scary defense, especially the last few years, but you throw Bradley Chubb in the mix now, and they got a couple other pretty solid defensive players.
We will see.
I don't know. I thought that was a good pick by the Broncos, and
it's a solid best player available type pick.
They kind of revamped their offense too. I'm just kind of going on a Broncos tangent. I'm sorry.
That's fair.
I thought they had a pretty solid draft. Royce Freeman out of Oregon and Cortland Sutton out of SMU, wide receiver. That's a big talent to put out on the edge for you, especially with youthful quarterbacks. They're still trying to figure out their whole quarterback system in Denver. So. Putting some more youthful talent around them, I think that'll help a lot.
Not too worried about Denver though, as a Los Angeles fan, I should say.
You should be. They got Deshaun Hamilton, wide receiver, Penn State. Like again, a lot of size.
Case Keenum's our starting quarterback, man.
A lot of size. Case Keenum just led a team to the NFC Championship.
Oh my gosh!
Case Keenum I'm just saying.
I'm not scared of Case Keenum, Trevor Siemian, or Paxton Lynch. That's a terrible QB room. Sorry, Broncos fans. I know there's probably a decent amount in this area.
Talk to Case Keenum. You're going to tell me that Case Keenum is an incapable quarterback?
He's not winning you any big games, that's for sure.
He took his team. He took the Minnesota Vikings to the NFC Championship.
I'm not a Case Keenum believer. Sorry.
What? Did you not see him play last year? He was phenomenal.
He was fine.
Fine?
Yeah.
I cannot believe this. I'm not like a Vikings fan or anything, but it was fun to watch Case Keenum. I thoroughly enjoyed it last season because he was really good.
He was okay. He was slightly better than average.
Slightly better than average.
Yeah.
Wrong, sir.
Don't look up his stats.
No, I will look up his stats. Who did the Vikings have for a running game last year?
Dalvin Cook.
Who went down with an injury early on in the season.
Yep.
So now they're running with a 2-headed rushing monster between McKinnon and Latavius Murray. McKinnon kind of won that battle, was clearly the better back, but Jerick McKinnon is not someone that you're going to call a feature back for a running game.
I suppose. Let's not get into this Case Keenum debate in our NFL draft talk.
I'm just saying, putting more weapons around him. He had youthful weapons last year with Cordell Patterson out of Tennessee.
Stephon
Diggs. He's only a couple years in the league. Adam Thielen. All very youthful wide receivers. Kyle Rudolph. Youthful guys.
He had good weapons. Now watch him play in Denver with what receivers do they have again? Can you name a single one?
Emmanuel Sanders.
Washed up.
What? Okay, you're just talking as a Chargers fan now.
I'm not talking as a Chargers fan.
Who's their other speedster on the outside? Number 80.
I don't remember.
Skipping my mind right now.
That's okay.
Just real quick.
They have
2017 Case Keenum stats: 67.6 completion percentage, over 3,500 yards.
Oh wow!
22 touchdowns.
3,500 yards. What a gunslinger.
What?
What? Quarterbacks every year throw for 5,000 plus. This is not impressive.
The Vikings aren't a high octane pass first offense
because Case Keenum can't get him to that.
He won games, Nate. That's the point, though.
This is like some Johnny Manziel argument right now.
Oh my gosh.
Johnny Manziel wins games, bro.
Johnny Manziel does not win games. No, Case Keenum he's a very solid quarterback, and I'm anxious to see what happens in Denver this year because
so am I, because they're not going to be very good.
I think they're going to be a lot better than you might think.
That's okay, because the Chargers are going to be way better.
You're trusted your boy Phillip Rivers to get you to an AFC Championship over Case Keenum. Tell me that to my face without laughing.
What? Are you joking with me?
Yeah.
Yes, I trust Phil Rivers more than I trust Case Keenum.
Are you kidding me? To get you to a division championship?
Yes.
No.
This is your worst take I've seen on this entire show. And
who's done it more recently?
Case Keenum, but who's a better quarterback? It's Phil Rivers. Jeez,
he has more
man.
history. I'm not saying with the times, Nate. With the times, history says that Phillip Rivers probably has the better quarterback.
Yeah, okay.
But right now, if I had to build a team and I had two quarterbacks to pick from, and those were my two, I'm picking Case Keenum right now.
This is by far the worst take I've ever heard on this show.
That is perfectly fine. I'll win me some championships.
I cannot believe you take Case Keenum over Phil Rivers.
He's playing well. Right? Phil Rivers is old. He's washed up, Nate. You got to move on.
He's not washed up. Are you kidding
That's right.
me?
He's never washed to begin with.
I know you're just trying to troll me right now by saying you take Case Keenum, but it's still genuinely a terrible take.
I'm just saying, don't sleep on him next year.
Whatever.
He's got some more weapons.
Whatever.
They got Troy Fumagalli, the tight end of Wisconsin. He's got a lot of youthful weapons, Nate.
Late round picks. Not worried about it.
A lot of weapons.
We'll find out next year when I'm right.
Okay. We'll bring Sergio Dip back, and he can tell us all about it.
Having the time of his life.
Oh no. Let's probably get back to the draft. Nate.
Yeah, we should probably do it. We've been on like a
Case Keenum tangent.
like a 6-minute Keenum tangent.
That's okay. He deserves it. He got his team to the NFC Championship, and I stand by that.
We're done. We're done talking.
He was impressive
we're
last
done.
year.
We're done talking about him.
I'm just saying he was impressive.
Okay. So, who was your pick that you thought stood out?
Oh man. Rashad Penny and the Seahawks.
Is that in a bad way or a good way?
I'm not sure which way this could go.
So you're wishy-washy.
A little bit, yeah. I'm just like, I think he was a great running back. He had to follow up San Diego's running back.
Donald Pumphrey.
Pumphrey, yeah, who had a very impressive career, and Rashad Penny just kind of shattered all of that. Obviously, historically, Pumphrey had the numbers, but last season, Penny just blew him out of the water.
Yeah.
So I think, again, he has the talent. He's a very strong, powerful running back. Kind of fits that Seahawk running back mode. The big bruiser running back does not...
Yeah, wants to get tackled two yards in front of their terrible offensive line.
Yes, but he has that breakaway speed if you get him some space that he can definitely turn on the Jets and put some people in the dust. So, again, Seahawks are another team, very lackluster run game since Marshawn Lynch has left. And so they need someone like Penny to, again, just kind of revitalize that. I think it could be a really good pick. We'll see how Seattle chooses to use them in his offense if they're able to build up their offensive line.
I mean, they didn't take one until the 6th round.
See, that's what concerns me the most. Is like clearly the offensive line was one of the biggest issues in Seattle last fall, and they didn't address it in the draft, which surprises me because
it's been the Seattle MO over the last couple of years where they're just like, this is fine. The O-line's fine. We got Russell Wilson. He can do whatever.
Yeah, but you don't want Russell Wilson to keep getting hit and having to move out of the pocket.
It's okay.
That's the thing.
It's okay. He has his concussion water.
Oh, stop. Oh my gosh. Let's go to your big pick or what really surprised you?
Surprising? I was gonna pick Penny as well because I don't think that's a very good pick in the grand scheme of things.
Probably not. I think the Seahawks clearly should have gone for offensive linemen before they started getting running back talent. They have plenty of talent that they can find. I mean, they have Rawls back there. I don't know if Rawls is coming back, I suppose, but
I don't know either.
Who was their guy that they ended up? Their third string guy that they ended up going with last year.
Fat Eddie Lacy.
No, there's another guy instead of Eddie Lacy.
I'm trying to think. I know who you're talking about.
He's on my fantasy team. That's all I remember. He got me some points some days.
So he was bad.
Shush. We're not going into this.
The two
again,
picks
the Seahawks should have gone with a lineman.
Yes, the two picks that I was confused by were Terrell Edmonds from Virginia Tech, a safety. Just a guy. He was picked by Pittsburgh, and he was a guy with a 3rd-round grade that got selected in the 1st round, and I'm just confused by that.
Is he brothers with Tremaine?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
that's what I thought.
Brothers.
Yeah, the linebacker from Virginia Tech. And yeah, clearly, again, Tremaine was a much more high caliber linebacker, high caliber player. I was surprised too with Terrell moving up at least that far. I mean, I thought again maybe that 3rd, borderline 2nd round pick, he could sneak in there, but jumping all the way up to 1st round was pretty impressive.
Then Ryan Shazier picked him.
The way it was picked, yeah, you had some comments on that.
I want to preface this by saying I'm glad Ryan Shazier is walking. I'm sincerely happy that he's not in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Man, it just doesn't sit right with me, man.
The toughest part about football, when you have injuries like you have with Ryan Shazier, and it paralyzes you or paralyzes that person, then they're coming back. The road to recovery is obviously very tough. It's great to see them walking again, but also it's not always the most tasteful thing to go parade them around and be like, oh, look, he suffered a near-death experience or paralyzing experience with football, and now he's back on his feet.
Roger Goodell's up there being like, what an inspiration, such a hero. And I'm just like,
which isn't necessarily wrong, but I don't know if it's always right. I'm definitely kind of on your side with this. We were talking about before the show, and I was trying to just think of like what side I stood on with it. And it's not that Ryan Shazier isn't an inspiration coming back from an injury like that.
Because from what I heard, he is doing extremely well. Much, much better. He is outpacing his diagnosis, by a lot. And, that just goes to show, how mentally strong he is.
Yeah, and there are guys who definitely cannot come back from those types of injuries.
Yeah.
Which is sad to see. But also, those injuries occurred in the first place because of the sport. So, yeah.
It's just going to parade him out there. It's just like, you hear all this stuff that's just like, it's just like, oh, I'm not letting my kid play football because he could get injured like that.
Yeah.
And then you see Ryan Shazier, and it's just like, how does that not pre-confirm everything those people say about football when you see him walk across the stage? His legs can't bend. He has to have somebody help him.
Yeah. That's the dark side of football with it. I mean,
it is, and I won't say I'm not a hypocrite, and I'm not going to watch every Nebraska game next year, and I'm not going to watch every Chargers game because I love football. I really do. But looking at how Ryan Shazier gets hurt, it's just like it's tough. It's tough to see this and be like, this is what you reckon with when you support the game, and it's a line to be drawn for everyone. I'm not saying anyone is right or wrong for their reactions to it. If you think Ryan Shazier is inspirational, I mean, hey,
again,
good for you.
I don't think the inspirational comment is wrong. It's just, would he be inspirational if he hadn't got the injury?
Yeah,
that's my big thing. And obviously, I don't want him to have an injury like that. I don't want anybody to have an injury like that. But that's not good to see.
It's just. It's you expect us to
it's
be
good
like.
To see him back out, but it's not good to see it happen in the first place.
Exactly.
And then
It's just one of those things where it's like, I'm glad that he's walking, but I just don't particularly agree with how the NFL is using his injury.
That too. That's kind of the thought that I'm getting from this is like, the NFL is using Ryan Shazier as an example of like, oh yeah, these bad things really happen, but see, some people still come out okay, more or less, but okay. Like, he's not in a wheelchair, so it's okay. And you're right. That's the part that gets kind of dicey and kind of like, I don't know about that.
That's what I'm saying. But regardless, we'll cut it off right there. You know, we could endlessly debate for 6 hours.
No matter what, it was still good. Again, to see him walking, it was great to see him at an NFL event, out there showcasing his team again.
Very glad.
Still showing
very glad.
his part of the organization.
Yes, he's a very determined individual, and like we said before, he's doing good, and I'm very happy that he is walking.
For sure.
But still, the other surprising pick, though, Lamar Jackson, man. He's not. I can't. And he's not a good quarterback.
Don't do this to me.
He's not a good quarterback, dude.
He's not a great quarterback.
Oh, that's a
He's
great.
not a great.
That's a great
I said the same thing
compliment.
about Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's not a great quarterback. He is not a great quarterback. But I think he has arguably the same amount of potential as Sam Darnold if you're gonna go with the tangible skills and stuff.
Lamar Jackson is not accurate.
Have you seen that man throw a ball? Those deep passes are on the money. Some shorter range passes, yes, he needs to tone it down. He throws them high a lot, often to the outside and above his receivers' heads. That's fixable. That's just slowing your roll, making your reads, and just putting the ball on a line, making sure you keep your arm and your shoulders straight once you throw that ball.
That's fair.
You work with a coach on that for a summer, even a full season behind Joe Flacco too. I mean, no, Joe Flacco's not the most amazing quarterback, but he's a very solid quarterback. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's a proven quarterback in this league. So I don't see any problem with them drafting Lamar Jackson in the first round. Let alone at all. Like some people were saying, if you're going to draft him, you got to draft him third round, wide receiver kind of stuff.
I'm not.
He
I'm
has
not
the
opposed,
speed. He has the quickness for that. But
I'm not opposed to giving him a flyer at quarterback. I don't think he's going to be good.
You didn't see him play, Nate. I got to see him play. Yes, that was not his best game passing. He had a lot of interceptions. All of them over the top. There was one drop pass that led to an interception from his receiver. So the other three, he just overthrew his wideouts. But when he makes his throws, like watching him on film, those deep bombs, he puts it right in the breadbasket, right on the money, only where his receiver can get it. He is very accurate on those deep throws. It's just those shorter range passes, those mid to short range passes. He has too much of an arm sometimes, and his height, he's a taller quarterback in general, so he looks over the top and like he's used to throwing it high. You bring that down a little bit, you slow it down in practice for him, and he'll start making those throws. Like I'm pretty sure, I think it was last year, he improved his completion percentage by, let's see, 2016. Okay, so his completion percentage in 2016-2017 was...
Does it not show what it is? Are
No,
you doing
I
the math?
I got the wrong website. I had to pull out the calculator. So he had 56.2% in 2016-2017.
Sure.
And then last year, raised it by almost 4%. So he's up to 59%. So, again, it's those little details there that show improvement, show that he is capable. And also, much like compared to those other three of the other quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield obviously can make a lot of plays with his legs. Lamar Jackson can make far more plays with his legs than anybody else in this draft.
That is fair.
I saw him live, and his ability to scramble and move out of the pocket. Clearly, again, Louisville doesn't have the best offensive line in the nation.
They did not.
So he has to be on the move and looking downfield a lot on his own. And making those plays on his own, his ability to just scoot around defensive linemen, avoid sacks. There was one, I remember one play in the bowl game that I saw. He was about to be sacked 8 yards in the backfield. He was bent over like an L, standing up, and the defensive lineman was on top of his back. He squirms underneath it, spins around, jukes out another guy, and gets an 8-yard gain out of it instead of an 8-yard sack.
That's fair. All I'm saying is running quarterbacks never run as well in the NFL as they do in college. Just never. I mean, it's just a consequence of the talent increase.
I got 2 words.
Sure.
Deshaun Watson.
He ran fine, just like Cam Newton runs okay. But they're never going to. They're never the threats on the ground as they are in college.
No, but still, that ability just to get out of the way and get out of a sack and get out of the pocket, it's big. I think he's going to be a better quarterback than you think. He might not be the game breaker Super Bowl quarterback that I would want him to be, because I think he's a very impressive player and also just a very smart and humble guy. For all of his press conferences that I've heard, he just seems to have a really good head on his shoulders.
That's the one thing I want to give him credit for. A lot of people were really ragging on him for his mother. Mm-hmm. Which, and when they interviewed him after he got drafted and he was talking about his mother and, how much of an influence she was in his life, I really enjoyed that. If I'm ragging on a kid, don't think I want every player in this draft to succeed. I truly do.
Maybe not the Iowa players.
Maybe not, but maybe a few of them probably not. But I'm sure not all of them are good people. But for the most part, as football players, I don't want anybody to fail. It's just statistically, some of them, chunk of them are.
That's fair.
And, I just don't think Lamar Jackson is one of those players that will succeed on a football level. But I hope he does well. I really did enjoy his interviews. I think he seemed like a very humble, very nice person.
Okay. Is there any team you thought just had a phenomenal draft?
I thought that Green Bay had a pretty nice draft, in my opinion. They got some nice flyers in the early round. They completely rebuilt their secondary, which is probably their biggest problem.
Needed. Yeah,
Jair Alexander, Josh Jackson from Iowa. They just did a good job. What about you?
Yeah, the Packers were actually my pick, too. I thought their focus on the defense in the secondary and then also getting some weapons on offense was clearly what they needed as a team. But that secondary, for sure, rebuilding all of that. The first two picks were two very, very well-rounded corners from the UCF and Iowa. So I think...
Not UCF, Louisville.
Oh, Louisville and Iowa, that's right. I think... Vikings took Mike Hughes, the UCF.
Yes.
Don't want to confuse Vikings and Packers, my bad.
Bailey and Matt Dunn
there'll be some riots. I'll get in trouble when I get home all my roommates and stuff.
Yes.
No, you're right. I think the Packers probably had one of the more impressive drafts. And the Jaguars, too. I mean, obviously, they got the best quarterback with Tanner Lee. So.
Yeah, exactly. All right, that is it for our NFL draft coverage. Now let's move on to the other big thing that is happening in sports.
The other big thing.
I mean, you got to save some suspense for a few seconds. It's the NBA playoffs. We're in the second round now.
We are in the second round. We've eliminated some teams. Some other teams who we thought were going to be eliminated were not. And
like what?
I mean, did you really think going into the first round of the playoffs that the Jazz were going to come out of OKC?
I thought it was a reasonable possibility.
Fair,
I didn't think they were going to win as impressively as they did.
That's probably the most surprising fact of it. They played really well. I mean, I don't know how the 76ers pulled it out against my Heat, but they skimped by.
Because the Heat, they bad.
Stop.
It's okay. You can cry into your Red Sox hat about your teams being terrible.
My Red Sox hat is full flush because they are dominating baseball right now.
We're not talking about baseball.
Well, we might need to. I might do a summer show or something.
That's fair.
Red Sox are looking good, but no, you're right. In the second round, I think the big thing, LeBron able to hold off the Pacers, able to keep them at bay. It was a very tight finish there, but Cavaliers come out on top, and then they even pulled the first game out in Toronto.
LeBron James, he owns the North. He's the land baron. He's a landlord coming to collect rent. Lowry and DeRozan are his tenants. They just like pay the rent, boys, and they pay up.
The Raptors played a phenomenal game. They were up early. They were up big. I think they were up by 16 at one point or 14.
The Cleveland, all you can say is zombies. So we've reanimated some of Cleveland's basketball players. They're back from the dead. J.R. Smith, he has a pulse. Tristan Thompson, he dug out from his grave.
Kendrick Perkins,
Kendrick Perkins yelled.
I forgot he was even on the roster, but he's still there.
They signed him a week before playoffs for the 15th spot for moral support.
It's working.
He talked smack to Drake.
Everybody talks smack to Drake.
That's fair.
But
Drake's first name is Aubrey. You can't be a gangster if your first name's Aubrey.
You would know this how?
I saw it on Twitter.
Oh, I just meant like the fact that you can't be a gangster with the name Aubrey. You personally would know that.
I have no idea. I'm not a gangster, and my name's also not Aubrey.
Okay, well, moving on. Just breaking down that Cavs-Raptors game. Finished up in overtime, 113-112 with the Cavs winning. LeBron actually had help. This is the first playoff game. I think that might have been the first time all season that somebody other than LeBron James was the leading scorer on the Cavs at halftime.
Yeah, J.R. Smith had 21 points. He had
4. Jeff Green. Jeff Green had 16.
Not Tristan Thompson. Tristan Thompson had 14 and 14, which is unbelievable considering he was getting 0 minutes like a week ago. But J.R. Smith scored 21. It's the first time the entire playoffs a player not named LeBron for the Cavaliers has scored over 20.
Kyle Korver had 19, so getting close there, and he's helping out.
They're running with it. They're running with their squad. Who knows, man? LeBron owns Toronto. He just does.
He cannot lose to
LeBron
them.
has won 4 straight games in the Air Canada Centre, dating back to 2013.
And I mean, this isn't even the typical playoff Lowry. Like usually he gets a lot worse, but he was only 50% shooting for both field goal and 3-point. He was 18 points. DeRozan definitely kind of carried the thing. He couldn't hit a 3 last night with 0 for 4, but 22 points from him. Valanciunas, he had a big game with 21 and 21 rebounds. Goodness. 21 and 21. Oh my gosh.
He also missed a couple of really easy ones down the stretch.
That was the thing too. Is at the end of the game, the Raptors had the chance. They had like 3 or 4 chances to tip it in or shoot it.
DeRozan missed one. Valanciunas missed one. Fred VanVleet missed one.
Yeah. You're right. It's just the LeBron owning Toronto factor where they will not be able to beat him because he's LeBron and they play for the Toronto Raptors.
Yep. In other news, we got the Philly-Boston series. Boston took one. Not shocked, but I am shocked a little bit on how bad Philly was. I think that'll self-correct as the series went on. I still take Philly even in the series, even though Boston won that first one.
Boston being at home helps a lot.
Yes.
They play very well at home. And I mean, that's a big rivalry, too, stemming back from Larry Bird kind of days.
They've showed that clip of Dr. J punching Larry Bird like 18 million times. And Moses Malone and Charles Barkley are holding Larry Bird's arms. And Charles Barkley's like, I wasn't holding that. I was just kind of holding Larry Bird back, from the fight. When it's like he has like one arm, and then like Dr. J's like jabbing right in Larry Bird's face. 80s NBA. I kind of want to see that.
Oh, that'd be fun. And someone might have to hold back Charles Barkley soon. He might be getting in a fist fight with Draymond Green.
Barkley's too old, man.
he's too old. He needs to go home. He played. He's old. He's done.
According to Draymond Green. He's not wrong. Barkley probably shouldn't have said he wants to punch Draymond Green in the face. No matter how punchable Draymond Green is, he's very punchable.
We'll get to that one, but jumping back to the Boston and Phillies game, or 76ers, not Phillies. But Boston wins 117-101, and just played really well, especially their youth. I mean, Boston, again, they're having to rely on that since, as I've made this joke multiple times, half their team's still in the hospital.
Yeah, but Jason Tatum.
Jason Tatum and Terry Rozier, phenomenal. 28 and 29 points respectively for the two. Al Horford came away with 26.
They just have a lot of good pieces. They play well within their system. I think the talent differential is going to be too much as the series goes on, but it's closer than one might think. So I wouldn't be surprised if this goes 7.
I think this could go 7. I think this is probably one of the most likely to go 7 during this round, and I think it'd be fun to watch it go 7.
Very. Going to the West, we have Houston, Utah playing right now. They're on the TV.
They are on TV, and Utah's up 10 right now. They're playing really well. It's early. I mean, still first half. Houston is Houston. They'll do their stuff. Ingles for Utah already has 11 though. He's playing really well this half. And Derek Favors. Favors is playing a little bit. He's got 6. Gobert's actually involved in the game. He has a couple buckets. He hardly got I think it wasn't until like late second quarter, even third quarter, that Gobert got a shot in the first game, which is what led to Houston winning, I think.
And, he's probably their second best player, Rudy Gobert is, and not getting him involved is kind of a bad spot for the Utah team. Yeah. But I still think Houston's going to pull this one out.
Probably.
I think Utah will get a game. Whether it's this one,
a game or two. Utah plays very well at home.
They do. I think if if you're Utah and you want to win this series, you absolutely have to win tonight. You need to steal that game in Houston, and this is a really good spot to do that.
That's true. And right now, Houston's not shooting the best. Harden's 50%, 0 for 1 from 3. Ariza hasn't made any of his 2 shots. Most of the offense is flowing through Clint Capella and Chris Paul at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's solid. I mean, and if you're Houston, you're not worried. Harden's gonna heat up eventually.
Oh yeah, that's what Houston does. But you're right. This is a very dangerous game for the Rockets to at least kind of slack off on, because Utah can take advantage very quickly, and getting 1 or 2, it would still do some damage to the Rockets, make them play a little longer.
Exactly. Speaking of damage.
Ugh. Like damage to the scoreboard or damage to somebody's face or bones or whatever Draymond Green is going to hit next.
Just damage to everything. Hey, Steph Curry's back.
Steph Curry is back. He dropped 28 last night.
Off the bench. He was the only player with a positive plus-minus on Golden State's team. I'm serious. He had like a plus-minus of plus like 21. When like the other one was like Kevin Looney, who had like a plus-minus of like -7.
Curry does Curry. That's what he does. He 5 of 10 from 3-point land, 8 of 15 overall, 7 of 7
He's the best. He's the best player on the Warriors team. He's the best. He's one of the best players in the NBA. He's back. Playoffs are over.
You calling it now?
It's like don't overreact, but I feel pretty confident in being.
You're right. I would be surprised, even in this series, if New Orleans got a game. It'd be cool to see him get a game. I think they kind of deserve it just with how Draymond Green has been doing stuff. Like, oh my gosh, last night was kind of frustrating to watch. For those who didn't see it, you got tangled up with Anthony Davis. Did you see that call, that sequence?
I didn't actually. I saw it on Twitter. I was like, I don't even want to get near this.
It was horrible. First of all, they had a double foul called when Draymond Green basically. First of all, he tackled Anthony Davis to the ground and then was like caught up in his legs and flipped him over again and fell down with him and like kept swiping at his legs and like kicking him off and stuff. And Anthony Davis is literally just laying there with his arms spread out and just like falling over because Draymond Green keeps like flipping him over, and he's just sitting on the ground, and they call a double foul on it.
Anthony Davis also had 0 free throws last night.
Yeah, he was not getting anything down low, which is surprising. I mean,
it's one of those things where perimeter players just get all. It seems like in today's NBA, perimeter players just get all the foul calls.
Yeah,
you look at James Harden, and you just look at all the fouls that people like him or Steph get.
And they're shooting a lot more free throws. I mean, Steph was 7 for 7 free throws last night. Iguodala had 7 free throws. Durant had 6 free throws. Draymond Green had 5, which, I mean, Green's usually down in the post, but still is not a lot of calls going New Orleans' way last night, and we'll see if they can take one at home. I think that's the only chance of them getting a game is down in NOLA. But this series obviously is going to the Warriors with Steph back. It's likely the whole championship's going there again.
The playoffs are going to the Warriors, man. I like Houston. I think they have a fun team. They're so much worse than the Golden State is. It's really not even funny.
They are talent-wise. Once Golden State gets in their groove, I mean, they're just so smooth. So smooth with their transitions, their passing, defensively, just the way that quickly switching from defense to offense with the way they take away the ball and tip passes, steal the ball. It's going to be tough for anybody to take a game, let alone a series from them.
Exactly. It's very, very rough for the playoffs, and it's the reason I can't bring myself to watch a Golden State game. I just can't.
You're the one who has a Golden State Warriors hat.
I was a gift from somebody. I don't like them.
You still wear it every day.
Because it's a nice hat. Sometimes it's cold. It's a stocking cap.
Oh my!
What else am I gonna use it for? Am I just gonna hang it up on my wall? Am I gonna throw it in the trash?
No, but like you always talk about how you're on the bandwagon with them now.
Oh my gosh, that's a joke.
Yeah, you just had to clarify that on radio.
It's a joke, baby.
Oh, man. Well, Nate, we're in the last minute of our last broadcast of your college.
My high school career?
No, we're past high school. Your college career. It's coming to an end on Saturday. Ladies and gentlemen, my good friend Nate Milbach is graduating.
Thank you.
I can't believe it, but he made it.
I did make it. I don't know. It's been a really fun year. It really has. And when we decided to do this show at the beginning of the year, we just thought, it's our senior years. You have one more semester left. You get done in this December, but we were just like, why not just have some fun, talk about some sports, just enjoy the last sort of full year.
College,
of college.
Live it up.
Live it up. And honestly, I've had a really fun time, and I'm really happy you've been doing this with me.
Me as well, Nate. It's been an honor to do it with you. You're definitely
really
one of my
has.
best friends. I couldn't imagine doing it with anybody else.
Yeah, well, get looking.
Yeah, I need one more partner. I'll let you finish our sign off as we get going.
All right,
here.
awesome. Well, guys, I want to thank all of you for tuning in, whether it's here on the radio or on YouTube or on Facebook, just wherever you tune into the Second String. I just want to say I'm very thankful for you. From my co-host, Alex Fernando, for the last time, I'm Nate Milbach. Thank you for listening to the Second String.